Hi everyone, this is Nakul and welcome back to my channel skillsnaati. Well, this is my first video and today I'm going to talk more about the overview, especially the brief overview of what NAATI CCL is, what is the structure of the exam and what kind of mistakes you would be making and how much does it cost. To add further, there's a new announcement from NAATI CCL website that henceforth till December 31st of 2020, that means this year, they're going to conduct NAATI CCL purely through online. So that's a great news because you don't have to travel to Australia every time you want to give the exam. You can give the exam by sitting at your place online. And we also provide the online NAATI CCL coaching for two languages, that is Hindi and Tamil. So if you're interested to pursue the NAATI CCL coaching from us, online coaching from us, you can always check the information in the description. I have given the email ID. You can mail us and avail our services. So to begin with, firstly I'm going to take you through what NAATI CCL is, the definition and all those things. Then we're going to talk about the structure and then the marking criteria. Each and everything we will discuss in detail. So let's quickly start off. So let's understand what is NAATI CCL test. So before that, what NAATI stands for: National Accreditation Authority for Translators and Interpreters. And the CCL stands for the Credentialed Community Language Test, and the most important is, if you pass this exam, you qualify to get 5 points for your Australian permanent residency. So before we go further, let's understand the structure of the test. Basically, they divide it into dialogues and segments. So what is this dialogue? What's a segment? I'll just brief you about the NAATI CCL test. So basically, in the real life environment, let's say I went to Australia, but my mom doesn't know English and she is with me and she has to go to hospital. She hires this interpreter because she cannot converse in English with the doctor, but doctor knows English. So that's the doctor, here comes the interpreter, here comes my mom. So the doctor says to the interpreter in English, saying, "What can I help you today?" The interpreter will translate the doctor's words to my mom in Hindi or Tamil or whatever the language she speaks. My mom speaks in her native language. The interpreter translates that to the doctor, making the doctor understand. So this is the purpose of the NAATI CCL. So this entire thing is called a dialogue, and a set of things inside a dialogue, the conversations. If it becomes 10 conversation, we call it a dialogue. In each conversation becomes a segment. So let's understand this. The rightmost picture is the doctor, leftmost is the lady. So let's assume it's my mom, and the middle guy is the interpreter. So now what exactly a dialogue is? The conversation that happens between them. The entire thing is a dialogue, and each conversation is called a segment, and if that segment is equivalent to 10, let's say there are 10 segments, that is called one dialogue. So let's say doctor says, "How can I help you today?" For convenience, I'm translating that in Hindi. In this, translator says, "मैं आज आपकी क्या सहायता कर सकता हूँ?" Then my mom says in Hindi, "मुझे भयानक पीठ दर्द हुआ है." The translator says, "I have terrible back pain." The first thing that happened from the doctor on the right hand side, whatever the doctor said, the middleman, interpreter or the translator spoke or translated in Hindi. My mom got what the translator spoke in Hindi. She spoke back in Hindi saying, "मुझे भयानक पीठ दर्द हुआ है." Now for the doctor to understand, the person in the blue, the interpreter, has to again translate back in English, and he said, "I have terrible back pain." Well, this is the significance of what NAATI CCL is. This is what they are testing. Are you a qualified interpreter? If you are given this job, can you do it at your best? And you prove to the examiner that yes, you can do it at your best. You're going to claim 5 points to your immigration. Let's understand the actual structure in the exam. It's going to be 2 dialogues, and each dialogue is approximately 300 words, with about 50% of the dialogue in English and the rest in language other than English. We call LOT speaker, just like we use an example where I told my mom would speak, so that she becomes the language other than English, LOT speakers. So each dialogue consists of 10 to 12 sentences. So there we spoke one sentence, part of it was in English. I had a terrible back pain. The other part was in Hindi. That's a one statement sentence. That's called segments. So dialogue is nothing but the combination of segments. If let's say there are 10 sentences or 10 segments, that becomes one dialogue. Like that, you will have 2 different dialogues in the exam and your response should be within 5 seconds. I'm gonna just talk about it in a while, and the duration of the test, entire test, is just 20 minutes. So let's understand different topics that can come. One scenario could be the medicine scenario, other scenario could be you've lost a train ticket, you're in a metro. So there could be a varied number of topics. So dialogues you will be getting is based on real life situations in Australian society. Topics may include health, legal, community, immigration and settlement, education, social services, finance, housing, business, employment, insurance, or consumer affairs. So let's understand the marking criteria before we actually go into a conversation and deal with the errors. So the test format and the marking criteria, the whole test is for 90 marks. So as I already told you, there will be 2 different dialogues, each dialogue with 10 different conversations or segments or sentences. So each dialogue will cover 45 marks. So passing score is 29 mark minimum you have to score per dialogue out of 45. And overall you must score 63 or above in order to claim 5 points for your Australian permanent residency. So like I already told you, there will be 2 dialogues and the passing score is 63. But there is another condition, like I already told you, each dialogue you should have a minimum of 29. So let's say in one dialogue you got 45 out of 45. In the other dialogue you got 20. So overall is 65. 45 plus 20, 65. So ideally you should be actually getting 5 marks, but you don't get. There's another rule saying each dialogue you should have minimum 29 points. In one you have 45, in another you have 20, you still will not get marks. It will be considered clear fail. So the idea is very simple. Put together you should have 63 or above, and each one you should have minimum 29 out of 45. So usually how people get is 35, 35, 37, 32. In that way usually people get the scores. But like I'm telling you, in one you get more, in the other you got less than 29, you still will not be eligible to get those 5 points. Let's also understand the lifelines provided by the NAATI CCL test. So what exactly a lifeline I'm talking about is, let's say in the real scenario, the doctor and you are the interpreter. The doctor spoke something really lengthy and you couldn't catch it. So in the exam the same thing happens and you can say I want to take a repeat. So here the examiner there, the person standing right next to you, will again play the audio. But you can take only one per dialogue. If you take more than one, well, you can ask for it. You asked first time, the examiner will do a repeat. You understood again, you spoke back, totally fine. The next sentence, again a lengthy sentence. You again ask for a repeat. You can ask for a repeat, but you lose some marks with some penalty. That's the first lifeline, but you can use it only once per dialogue. Another lifeline is the correction. Let's say you wanted to say something, but you told something else, and now you can say correction and correct it. I'm going to give you a simple example. Let's say you wanted to speak, the value of the property should not exceed 650,000 Australian dollars. But you said the value of the property should not exceed 640,000 Australian dollars. And now you can say correction, 650,000 Australian dollars. It is always suggested that when you are doing a correction, do not repeat the entire sentence. Because when you repeat the entire sentence, there is a high probability that you may end up making mistakes for which you already told correctly. Here the value of the property, you would have told the value of something else. So make sure when you want to correct it, only correct that particular part which you already made a mistake for. Here 640 instead of 650 you told, so correction, tell only 650 instead of repeating from the beginning. Well, there are no penalty given for the correction. Can I use more than once? Yes, you can use. Can I use more than twice? You can use. But logically speaking, let's say in the real scenario, you're correcting a lot of times. So what happens to the LOT speaker or the doctor? Let's say here the English speaker, they'll go mad, they'll go crazy. So logically speaking, if you use like more number of corrections or in every sentence you keep on using the corrections, certainly your marks will go down. But this is not written in the NAATI CCL test. There is no limitation on the number of corrections, but logically speaking, you take more corrections, certainly your marks will go down. So let's understand what exactly happens during the NAATI CCL test. Well, there will be a test officer, we call. That person plays the audio. The moment the audio ends, there will be a chime, a bell sound. He will pause the recording and within 5 seconds, suggested within 5 seconds, you are supposed to translate it. And the moment you finish speaking, you will do a sign to him. and once that sign is done, he will again resume the recording. And this process goes on for each and every sentence for the entire duration of 20 minutes. So let's quickly move on to understand how the NAATI CCL marking is done. In other words, your evaluation. It is not a computerized evaluation, it's a manual evaluation, and two different speakers, a minimum of two different speakers will be there evaluating your recordings. So let's quickly understand what is considered an error and what is not considered an error. The list of errors, actually the first one is an omission. So what exactly is an omission? Well, omission means you omit some information. That means you overlook, you don't use some information given in the sentence. So for example, let's take the sentences. Government offers range of financial support to the home buyers who are Australian citizens. Well, this is spoken by an English speaker and now you're translating it. The interpreter ideally should be speaking this. Let's say in Hindi the person is speaking. I'm going to play the Tamil version in just a while. सरकार उन गृह खरीदारों को वित्तीय सहायता प्रदान करती है जो ऑस्ट्रेलिया नागरिक है. This has to be the sentence, but let's say the interpreter, you in the exam, spoken this. सरकार उन गृह खरीदारों को वित्तीय सहायता प्रदान करती है. You completely overlooked or missed to say that the Australian citizens are only given the support. This is called omission and certainly you would lose some marks for this. The same goes in Tamil. I'm going to play the audio now.
வீடு வாங்கும் ஆஸ்திரேலிய குடிமக்களுக்கு அரசாங்கம் பலவிதமான நிதி உதவிகளை வழங்குகிறது.
So instead of this, the person would say something like this.
வீடு வாங்குபவர்களுக்கு அரசாங்கம் பலவிதமான நிதி உதவிகளை வழங்குகிறது.
All right. So far we finished the omission. Now we're gonna distortion. So what is this? Distort is to damage. That means whatever the information is there, you're gonna say something else. Let's say the sentence says you must commence your course within 12 months of your registration. So ideally the translator, you should have told पंजीकरण की 12 महीने के भीतर आपको अपना पाठ्यक्रम शुरू करना चाहिए. But let's say the person got completely confused and he goofed up and said पंजीकरण की 12 महीने के बाद आपको अपना पाठ्यक्रम शुरू करना चाहिए. So here the person should have spoken within 12 months instead after 12 months. So that is called a distortion, and something like this certainly will happen wherein whatever the information given to you, you're going to translate it the way you wanted it. So this is distortion. This also costs you a lot of marks. So let's check. The omission distortion is done. Let's check the insertion. So this is where you add new data which is not even given there. That means you are speaking the way you want it, isn't it? So let's say the sentence is, you told me that there are investment options. And ideally you should be speaking, आपने मुझे बताया कि निवेश के विकल्प है. But let's say you added more information because of your excessive imagination and you said, आपने मुझे बताया कि निवेश के बहुत विकल्प है. बहुत or plenty of investment options. Many investment options were not even given, but you spoke, and these are all the set of things. Omission, distortion and insertion are the ones that basically get you less scores. So make sure you're more accurate. So far we finished omission, distortion, insertions. Let's take other ones, for example grammatical errors and wrong sentence formation. So this is basically grammar which may not be prioritized, but still it's better if we don't make mistakes in grammatical errors. This could mean that let's say sentence is in present tense and you spoke in a past tense, and while speaking in the LOT or the English, let's say in English you missed ing form, you told something else. So past tense could be, or the sentence formation, the basic grammars, these are the set of things, but may not be a big priority, may not be a huge priority. You can still make some mistakes and still get away, but the major ones are omission, distortion and insertion. So apart from grammatical error, you still have unsatisfactory pronunciation. Well, unsatisfactory pronunciation doesn't mean that you have to pronounce the way the native English speakers do. Well, we can't change our accent, so don't have to speak artificially, like changing your accent. Don't have to do that. So what does unsatisfactory pronunciation mean? See, the idea for communication is, the intention behind communication is whatever you have in your mind, you are sharing it to the other person. So share it in a way the person understands it. But sometimes what happens in the exam, the person is really, really tensed. Let's say the statement is, I have a terrible back pain. Let's say your job is to speak this sentence. Due to your anxiety, you end up speaking, I have a terrible back pain. The terrible word was not even clearer, isn't it? So that means in the real scenario, when you speak this, the other person who is listening to you will not be able to understand what you spoke. The same thing is going to happen for the NAATI CCL test examiners. So they end up giving you less scores. The idea is very simple: be calm and speak with an intention in the mind that whatever I speak, someone has to understand. If you do this, certainly you are, the problem of the pronunciation is solved. Well, the next set of error is the wrong vocabulary. So what exactly the wrong vocabulary mean? Wrong vocabulary is a very simple thing. For example, let's say there is a word called library. You are translating it, but library word you are not getting, and you spoke some other word. Library is granthalay. Correct? You have to speak that word, but in the worst case, let's say you're not getting it, you end up speaking something else. So all this will also take down your marks, but most importantly, the omission, distortion, insertion. These three are the priority. Do not make mistakes. But apart from this, there are other set of things which hamper your fluency. I'm going to talk about it in just a while before I end up this session. Other errors include excessive request for repeat. That is where you keep on asking for a repeat. So one repeat is allowed per dialogue, but if you take it more than one, certainly it will be considered a penalty. Excessive request for correction. Well, correction, there's no penalty for correction, but if you do it excessively, certainly examiners will not be in a position to get you through the, the passing criteria, the score. So don't have to do it. Excessive correction will certainly hamper your quality of delivery. So the quality of delivery is nothing but excessive hesitation, excessive self-correction. So I'm going to play an audio. Let's see this. Let's check this.
मेरे कानूनी प्रतिनिधि ने मुझे अपने कार्यकर्ता मुआवजे के लिए ऐसा करने की सलाह दी. And you need to translate in English, and you keep saying, my legal representative advises me to do this out of settlement for my worker settlement, my worker compensation.
Well, this is called the quality of delivery. So in this way, if you speak, your quality of delivery is completely hampered. But you're giving exact vocabulary, everything, translation is all perfect, but the speech delivery, basically the quality of it is completely hampered. So just understand this. In a real scenario, what matters is your delivery of the speech. It needs to be accurate, the vocabulary has to be translated, certainly is, but most importantly, the context is important, and the intention is whatever you speak, the person has to understand. So with excessive hesitation, excessive repetition, correction, the person will certainly not understand the way you want him to understand or want her to understand. So therefore, what makes, the better speech, the better quality of the speech is not just the vocabulary, it's your fluency, the way you speak. So even if sometimes one or two words go here and there, should be totally fine, as long you just produce that quality of the speech by being accurate and by being so fluent. With one or two mistakes, in the worst of the worst case, totally fine, but you cannot compromise on your fluency. You cannot have excessive repeat, excessive corrections, most importantly hesitations, because that's certainly going to annoy any examiner. Hope you are getting it. So what matters is the context and the fluency. So if you are good at it, especially the context, do not have to change the meaning of it, and if you're fluent, certainly you're going to get an excellent marks in your NAATI. Well, that's it from this video. Thank you so much for being a part of this video, and I really hope you have understood a lot of things from this video, especially the marking criteria, and how to get a good marks in NAATI. So if you're looking for an online coaching for the NAATI CCL, you can check the information in the description and send us a mail written in the description any point of time. Saying this, I'm going to end this video here. For more updates, kindly click on the subscribe button. I'm going to come back soon with a new video. Till then, take care guys. Bye-bye.